Hey there, I'm Meredith and I'm an intuitive and an astrologer based out of the mountains of North Carolina. And today I'm going to talk with you guys about October. I can't talk about October without first going over a little bit of September. September has been like a year within a month in a sense, where it feels like a lot of things are kind of on this like cosmic pause. And so, we have right now, and I'm doing this on September 24th, we have Mercury retrograde, we have Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron, all retrograde. So this is actually a pretty big deal. And I think that this energy that we're in right now is interesting for sure, because I think that, like I said, and I've said this a bunch of different times in a bunch of different ways, when planets station retrograde, people who live in the Western world, who lead very Western lives, begin to have problems because there's a sense of like, you know, getting kind of put in a cosmic pause, getting like planted kind of is a good way to describe some of the energy that we've been in. And I think that if you are not familiar with what that feels like, or if you are, kind of uncomfortable with that, then this retrograde transit is likely rocking your boat quite a lot. All of these retrograde transits, I mean. So yeah, so Mercury recently just moved back into the sign of Virgo. So, Mercury in Virgo really likes to take care of the situation, look at the facts, and to kind of, reduce, refine, analyze. It's very much like a thinking and a cerebral transit for Mercury to go through. However, Venus is also in Virgo. And, Venus, I have both Mercury in Virgo and Venus in Virgo in my chart. So I can very much attest to what this feels like, where the mind can kind of very much like run the show. And Venus does not actually like to be in Virgo at all. Venus is in its fall position in Virgo. So there can be sort of like, it's very practical and can sometimes not be very romantic, and is also kind of like wanting to look at like the very like everyday value of like, what the people in the work situations are bringing into your life, and you know is there an equal give and take, and are these people up to my standards? Like, that's kind of the energy that Venus in Virgo comes with. So Mercury in Virgo is normally like, very quick of mind and very fast and very much like gets in there, feels free to analyze anything and everything, and cleans the situation right up and moves along. But right now, both Venus and Mercury retrograde are in an opposition to Neptune in Pisces. So I've talked a lot about Neptune and Pisces on this channel before. And, it's been in Pisces since 2011, which is, so that's how long this influence has lasted. And I think that transit is an interesting one, because you can kind of see a couple of different things happening within it. You can see a lot of deception and a lot of creation of these like fictional false theater stories. And that's on both a personal level and a macro level. We have escapism to the extreme right now in the collective, and people are just kind of looking for every way that they can possible to check out as Neptune gets into these latter degrees the last few years. So I think that it's like kind of a checkpoint portal situation where, you know, it's like, especially from the Jupiter Neptune conjunction in April, that's sort of a point that I want you to remember. Like, I want you to remember what you were doing in April and think about that, because that is very important in your October. So yeah, so Mercury right now, this is why, and I also take on the energy of the planet. So I feel like I have like a very like slow moving, like I took a long bath today. I'm not fucking around, but I will say that I have, I don't know, I can kind of feel that there's like a fog over like maybe people's ability to reason, people's ability to see things clearly right now. Communication is very foggy. Like there's a lot of like maybe feeling misunderstood or like not getting your point across, or like obviously Mercury retrograde in Virgo is like the material world goes a little weird. So electronic issues, car issues, like these types of things definitely come up, right? But I think we have always a choice in how we respond. The energy is really well suited to things like writing, painting, dreaming. And I think that that takes a little bit of disconnection from the pull of Mars in Gemini, which is the other thing that I'm going to talk about. So on my Substack, I have, and I'll include this, the link to this article if you're interested, in the description box, where I basically broke down Mars and Gemini deeply for every sign. And one of the things that I talked about was October and November being months where it's hard, very hard to see things clearly. The reason for that, of course, is because, you know, Mars is going to station retrograde at the very end of October. And it's basically like stopped, it's not moving. And Mars in Gemini is responsible for the increased level of polarity. There's kind of a 2020 callback there. I'll also link my Mars retrograde video that I made, Mars and Gemini in general, but I'll link both of those things so you can catch up on that. But it kind of like, I think of the Mars in Gemini square to Neptune in Pisces that is basically exact all of October. I think of this as like, there's a lot of opportunity to lie to ourselves, to have these weird, like sketchy motives that we don't understand. There's a lot of like ability for miscommunications and just things that don't make a lot of sense. You know, this is sort of like circus level energy that we're coming into in March, or in October. So I think that delusion and mental health challenges and definitions of things and words and the impact that all of those things have on the psyche, I just think that that's taking a toll at this point. And like, you can see it in people that like people are not okay, like psychologically right now. And I think that like that's just becoming like more and more clear. So, you know, there's a level of like, maybe, you know, this is a good month to kind of like sequester, to go inward. Though one thing that is exciting about October is that we do have some forward momentum with the planets. So there's the Mars Neptune square. So we want to be like really conscious, and like we do not want to fall asleep in October and November because the opportunity is very much there. We do not want to do that. We want to like stay awake to the things that we have unlearned and the things that we have left behind. We want to like keep, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that life is about linear progression, but I think that the best gift that you can give yourself, for example, coming into October and November, is like a very detailed, not very detailed, but that's just me, like a morning routine that helps you to kind of like, you know, tether yourself to a spiritual anchor, like first thing, so that you're able to kind of like navigate the rest of your day with ease. Because I feel that there's a lot of like, and a lot of like curveballs within the energy of the Mars Neptune square. and really good time to stay aware of yourself, aware of your surroundings, and to kind of just like operate with a little bit more consciousness out here right now, just in October. Okay, so the other thing that this Mars Neptune square brings up is massive propaganda, unlike, you know, anything we've ever seen. I think the end of October and November with regard to any propaganda, I just think that it's just good to just assume that it's a farce, is my advice, and to not pay attention to it and to not feed the beast with your attention would be my suggestion with regard to this Mars Neptune square that we're going to be navigating in October. So, you know, Mercury stations direct in Virgo in opposition to Neptune. So that's like, that's a little bit like, it's a little weird, you know, it can be a little bit like, whoa, mirror, mirror, like, you know, I don't know. I think that that's a tense aspect. Once again, really great for writing, really great for painting, really good for like keying into your spirituality and like, you know, your body. Like Virgo is very bodily and Neptune is very spiritual. So it's like, woohoo, there's always like a higher way that you can go with this. But I think that generally, like, it's when it comes to having like the tough conversations, I would not have those with Mercury in opposition to Neptune through like, think that Mercury moves back into Libra on October 11th. And then, you know, that I feel like will give us, and then Mercury will be, you know, quickly out of shadow by the 18th. So it's not, things are moving forward and we just kind of are in a space of pause right now and like having to trust that, right? So Pluto also stations direct on October 8th. And, you know, this gives me a weird feeling living in the States because the Pluto return is on and popping. It's happening right now. Pluto stationed retrograde on top of the US Pluto. So for anyone who doesn't know, the Pluto return of a nation is something that changes it. There's a transformation. So something ends and something else begins. And so whatever is going on with the States right now, like seems fine-ish. But I think that, you know, it's just that Pluto direct station kind of concerns me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. So as far as like some news for the States, like kind of coming up, right? So to me, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Pluto is in the second house in the US chart, which is financial. So I don't know. I mean, who knows, right? I think that, you know, I've said all that I can say with regard to that on here. But I think that Pluto direct in our own personal chart, I mean, I love it when Pluto stations direct because for me, it feels like things come to the surface. Like I'm a Pluto person. You know, you're either familiar with like the descent to the underworld and like the juicy like burn of transformation, or you're not. So, you know, I love Pluto, and, you know, so for me, it feels like a very deep, like guttural, like something is moving, like something is changing. And I tend to like it when Pluto stations direct. It's like there's no hiding, especially right now. So, you know, this is like an opportunity, I think, for yourself to reveal some things to yourself. This is where like those realizations that have been kind of percolating for a while come up to the surface, and it's like, you know. So, yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about regarding October is Saturn, Uranus, and their dance that they have been doing since February of 2021 was the first time that they came together in an exact square. Saturn has been in Aquarius since December of 2020 officially, but went into Aquarius for a second in March of 2020 as well. Saturn in Aquarius is multiple things. It's the sort of like cold artificial force that I've talked about a numerous time on here. And it's also sort of like causing maybe like separation of community and friend groups, that kind of thing. Like, how many of you have the same friends as when 2020 started, right? Like, think about that. That is definitely a Saturn and Aquarius move. And I also think that Saturn and Aquarius is really refining us in a good way, in the sense that we're really able to like look at things from like this higher perch with Saturn and Aquarius. And I think that that's good. I think that we're seeing things in new ways and we're coming up with like new solutions. But there's also sort of that technocratic energy that's like breathing down our neck. And that is definitely connected for sure to Saturn and Aquarius. So the square to Uranus and Taurus is a tough one. It kind of creates a pressurized container feeling where you can melt or you can form like a diamond. It's up to you. And I think that some people I've seen use these transits and these squares from Saturn to Uranus, which happened February, June, and December of 2021, just really using them for their own personal refinement. And I think that's probably the way to go about it. This creates sort of a frustration in October. And so just wanting to share that. It's kind of like a frustrating, like not always the change that we want to happen. It's kind of difficult. I don't know. I mean, it's also, something that pushes people to making choices that they should have made perhaps a long time ago. So I think that that's probably a good thing. And that's what I think we can expect with Saturn stationing direct on October 23rd. And so I think that, let's see, there's an eclipse season beginning, and I'm going to make a specific video about this on October 25th. And it's a new moon eclipse in Scorpio. So, wherever the South Node has been transiting in your chart, it's been kind of difficult to plant new seeds there. And I think we get a little bit of a reprieve from that. I think that this solar eclipse will bring immense change into our personal lives. And we might change overnight, like what we want and what we want to have happen in our lives. I mean, I think that this new moon solar eclipse just brings up, like, again, coming from that very deep, like psychic basement type of place, like these deep realizations coming up of like what we know we need or what we don't need. I think that's a good thing. I think these transits are difficult this year, like the rest of the year. It's pretty rough, but I think that the rougher the transit, the more the opportunity there is to kind of like have a story to tell, rise out of it. And I also believe in the presence of miracles very strongly through like the paces that we're being put through in the changing times. So just wanting to share that as well. If I can think of anything else, maybe I'll just make another video. But I hope that you have a beautiful day and that you take care of yourself and that you plan to ride this October out. All right, bye.